against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the moment. That's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on Sports Grid.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So, look, the bottom line is they don't know who the future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have it. Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on Sports Grid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions once again. His third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
The most wonderful part of everybody's Monday, because it is time for Pro Football Today, the pregame party. Casey Hudson, Dave Sherpin, Tom Vecchio, Adam Kaufman, everybody is back in their respective boxes. This just got even better, but more importantly, it is time for us to break down the Texans, a party in Texas actually. Texans taking on the Cowboys, and what are we going to expect in this one? 7.5 on the spread, 41.5 on the total, at least currently by what I am seeing. So let's just say this, a number of storylines. Then there's a number of expectations on top of the Texans after blowing a lead versus the Lions the other week. And then you got a Cowboys team that lost their star quarterback. You got Cooper Rush at the helm. Just so many things. And you guys know, the more the merrier for us to unpack. So starting with the Sports King, always. What are you thinking about this matchup? How are you doing? How's your Monday? Is it as wonderful as I just told everybody, all the Sports Grids fans, that it was going to be?
Oh, yeah. No, Monday's great when you wake up and it's still nighttime in Pittsburgh behind me, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are in first place. So that's good. Buffalo beat Kansas City, so there's no more undefeated teams. We can stop talking about that.
Thank
And
God.
then the boys are back together in their respective spots. You have the shoulder pads on the day before Mama's birthday, looking good,
Miniature
ready to
pads,
go.
miniature.
I know, but you look like you got them in. Anyhow, it's a great day. And then we have this game, which I can't wait for Adam and Vecchio and you to come up with some plays, because, my goodness, I'm getting Jets-Patriots vibes tonight, boys and girls. I don't know what to make of this game. Yeah, you remember that game? We were all together, and we talked about it, and the final score was 24-3. And that's what I'm thinking about tonight.
Wow. That's a way to lay the foundation. That's a red carpet to roll out for us, Sports King. Now, I will clarify, they are miniature pads, but yes, they make me look 5'5" instead of 5'1", so I'll wear them every time I get a chance to. Kaufman, you look like you got something on the tip of your tongue, but how's your Monday going? What do you think of this matchup?
Well, I'm interested in this matchup. I'm intrigued by this matchup, but I hope this matchup plays out the way that I think it's going to play out, which is in line with what Sharapan's talking about. I'm a little surprised that that is what he introduced, given that he is sporting America's team colors over there between the jacket and a hat. But I'll tell you what, Dave, you personally just in this little window, your face looked great. Your hat sucks. And your coat sucks, because it's all about the Texans tonight, my friend, covering the 7, or even if you want to get greedy outside that key number, the 7.5. The thing is, Casey, you always like to ask me about trends, so I'm going to beat you to the punch here. And this is a little bit of pick your poison. Tell yourself a story, Vecchio. How about this? The Cowboys, they have lost 5 straight at home. They are 0-6 against the spread over their last 6 home games overall. However, 4-0 ATS in their last 4 Monday Night Football contests, just to again present opposite sides with the same team. Fact of the matter is, Casey, you mentioned it, the Texans blowing an opportunity recently and 2 straight losses. Well, the only way to get right after blowing an opportunity is to face a team that blows. And that is, of course, this Dallas Cowboys squad. It stinks. It stinks. CeeDee Lamb is not right. Cooper Rush may not even finish this game once we get into garbage time. It may be Trey Lance time. I expect C.J. Stroud to not even necessarily go out and have an amazing game in the return of Nico Collins, but maybe just lean on Joe Mixon. This should be a game in which the Texans have no problem putting up points against that awful defense on the other side, Tom.
My theme for this game for the Texans is for them to kind of reel things in, right? Let's pump the brakes of what we've seen from them. That's losing 3 of their last 4 games. And there's a lot of different ways that I want to be looking at this game. Again, Texans have lost 3 of 4. Number 2, the Colts won over the weekend. Okay, that happens. The Texans right now have a chance to extend their lead. And over the next few weeks, they play the Jags and the Titans. When for the Colts, in 3 of their next 4 games, they do have a bye week coming up. They play the Lions. And then after their bye week, they play at Denver, which is certainly a tough matchup. So there are some potential losses ahead of in the upcoming schedule for the Colts. So this is a chance for the Texans to get back on track, get with Nico Collins back in the offense, pick up a win here, and then potentially pick up some wins against the Jags and the Titans in the coming weeks and build that separation to win the division and start to lock down home field for the playoffs. So we're going to see Nico Collins involved. We'll talk about him a lot, getting his props, laddering him up to the moon, as you like to say, Adam. This is a Joe Mixon game. This is a Joe Mixon game for the Texans. After the interceptions and the inconsistency that we've seen from C.J. Stroud, I do expect the shots to be taken downfield for Nico Collins, which we'll get into some very, very specific props. But this is Joe Mixon's time to shine. I would not be surprised to see Stroud go under on some of his props, just because he doesn't have to be throwing the ball, and they don't want him to be forcing the ball too much after these games where he doesn't look good. He's throwing interceptions after the collapse of last week. It is a Joe Mixon game. I have interest in C.J. Stroud unders and Joe Mixon overs tonight.
Interesting. This is the part of the show where I make promises to be like, this game may potentially not be exciting, but we're going to make it exciting. And yet I don't feel confident saying that at this moment. But as we continue to unpack it, let's see if I throw that into the mix. Now, I do have a number of questions from everything everybody just threw out there. Number 1 being Sports King. 7.5 spread. To the naked betting eye, this feels extremely misleading in a number of ways, especially because you're over here talking about a Patriots-Jets potential, 24-3. Adam kind of sidelined that opinion as well, and then brought up all of his trends that are his friends, and then Tom just threw out the rest of his focal points as well. So gauging this spread, I mean, what are the sports books trying to get bettors to do with this one?
Case, they're trying to get someone to bet the Cowboys. It's all they're trying to do. Just somebody bet the Cowboys.
To support the outfit? Vecchio, that's what this is about?
Yeah. No, the books need to help with the money. They don't care who wins and loses, but everybody's betting Texans. So you got to float out a 7.5 out there. Now, some books will actually make it more expensive to take the 7.5, and those books have it at 7.5 even money, trying to get you to lay it at a better price and then maybe get hooked by that half point. I got to ask, I had the listening glasses on. Is this the first time, Tom, that you picked a running back to have the game? Like, you're usually a wide receiver.
No.
I fully expected this to be a Nico Collins night.
I thought it was
Nico Collins will be involved, but we got to remember that Thursday night game, the Broncos at the Saints. I said it was a Javonte Williams game when his line was sitting at 42 or 44.5. And I said he was going for 100 plus that game, and he ended with 88, and he got called back on the holding penalty to prevent him getting
that was a thing. That was a thing that happened. That was a thing that happened.
When it comes to the spread, I will say, if the Texans win this game, I do not expect the spread to be close. I don't expect it to fall like right at 8 points. If they win this game and cover the spread, it's going to be by 13.5.
Love it.
They will win by 14
you-
touchdowns.
Let me ask a quick question, because I know we got a break.
You got under a minute before we go head to head.
Dave, you know this. There are so many people that either have the Texans as the last leg of a money leg parlay, or they've got Houston, on the other end of a teaser. Like, people are very invested in Houston tonight. So let's just 30 seconds of devil's advocating, short of an injury, which is always possible. How does Dallas win this game? What is the path to a Cowboys win?
We're going to all just chew on that one because we're up against a break. And then after this break, we're going to take things head to head so that we can make this picture that much more clear. And plus, I've got a couple questions for Tom and Adam specifically when it comes to some of these numbers that could potentially hit the under, because I know CJ Stroud has probably not had the most impressive moments, but I still have many questions. Don't go anywhere. Stick with us on Pro Football Day, the pregame show here on Sports Grid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the moment. That's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on Sports Grid.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So, look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have it. Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on Sports Grid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions once again. His third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
Welcome back into Pro Football Today, the pregame show with Casey Hudson, Dave Sherapin, Tom Vecchio, and Adam Kaufman, bringing you the layout for the Monday night matchup going on between the Texans and the Cowboys tonight. We're going to take these position groups head to head, but I just thought of something, gentlemen. I mean, it's getting into the holidays. We all have to have high spirits and maybe highly competitive angles with things, and Adam was so brilliantly just bearing his soul of some of the decisions that he has made with his beard in his life. And I realized if one of you guys lose the SGP today, or if you guys lose 3 straight SGPs, I think that we should be able to have a say-so in what takes place with the beard cleanup.
Wow,
Goatee.
there's a punishment on the line.
A braid with a bead in it. I'm stuck.
Tom's like, this has been a part of me for 10 years. There's no way.
Kidding me?
But here's the thing: who wins SGPs most? So, I mean, sorry, not to add insult to injury.
How dare you?
You guys
How dare you?
think about that
right
one.
now?
We're gonna think of some good
Wait,
things.
I want an answer to my question. How do the Cowboys win this game? Tom, Dave, obviously Casey. Does anyone have any thoughts on this?
4 defensive touchdowns because Micah Parsons is back. I don't know.
4 defensive touchdowns. Dave, can you bring a little more hope to the situation?
Yeah, CJ
I'm not
Stroud gets
hoping
hurt.
for it. I just want to know how it happens.
No, CJ Stroud gets hurt. That's the only way. And then, Houston's forced to play a game of just running the ball. And Cooper Rush throws for 2+ picks. Probably has to be, I don't think we can get 4 defensive touchdowns, but 1. And the game goes over. I mean, this screams 24-10. That's the final score.
I'd be shocked if
Houston.
they get 10, but it could potentially happen. So my question, Adam, do you feel like your question was answered? Was that suffice?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like everyone is not only comfortable with the Texans winning, but with the spread, comfortable with the cover. It's good to know.
That was so kind of you to bring comfort to the situation. Okay, so this is what I'm curious about. Tom, when he was mentioning his take on everything, no, really, it's the month of kindness of all things. You were talking about the fact of the play, or like the lack of confidence, the lack of consistency that we were seeing out of CJ Stroud, a number of mistakes, a number of turnovers. But as a coach, if we all put our head coaching hat on, isn't this probably a good point of position for CJ Stroud to kind of get some of that pocket confidence back? We saw it a little bit versus the Lions, but that aggression and consistency from the Lions defense obviously started to play a huge role. But do you think that this is probably a good spot to see, hey, can we get back that 250-yard passer now with Nico Collins back in the mix, and so on and so forth?
I think we can, but I think tonight's not about the yards, not about the touchdowns. It's about the offense operating well, right? And I think it's about a night where we're going to see CJ Stroud hopefully, be effective and efficient. Like if CJ Stroud has to throw the ball 45 times tonight, something went wrong for the Texans. That's what it comes down to. So despite the fact that I like overs on Nico Collins and some of his props, I actually like the under on CJ Stroud attempts, and maybe even the under on 240 yards from him, or 239, wherever it's sitting, because they shouldn't have to pass the ball that much. That's what it comes down to. I think they will pass it a good amount, get Collins back fully involved in the offense. They want to work things. They want to get back to where he was. Collins still leads the team in receiving yards, despite having missed the last 4 games or 5 games or whatever it is. So we're going to see CJ Stroud be effective tonight, but ultimately, this is where Joe Mixon takes over. This is where we see Joe Mixon go for 20-plus carries and 100-plus yards on the ground, because that's where their offense will operate the best when they are effective, they are efficient. They do not need to stress CJ Stroud too much, and they can build that confidence game by game. It doesn't have to happen all this week.
All right. And just to add to context, CJ Stroud's passing numbers have come down from 235.5 to now 229.5 is what I'm currently seeing. Adam, I'll pitch this one over to you when we talk about favorable props or angles when it comes to the quarterbacks. We didn't see much out of Rush last week. That's to say the least. 6 points collectively for this Cowboys team. Last year, once upon a time, Rush was able to throw for at least 150 passing yards. So what say you on this matchup?
Yeah, I don't want to go anywhere near anything Cooper Rush. I don't have any confidence that he is going to do anything great. I realize, based on everything we're saying, they should be playing from behind, and therefore that makes you lean toward passing overs potentially. But honestly, again, CeeDee Lamb is not quite right. How much is he going to be able to do? Like last week, we saw him get a handful of catches, still didn't even, I don't think, get to 25 receiving yards. Mm-hmm. So there was no yak. This isn't Dak out there. And Cooper Rush, he's got some good career starting numbers straight up against the spread, all that, but there's just little around him to work with right now. So unless guys like Tolbert and Ferguson are going to go crazy in this game, I don't think that Rush is going to do anything great. And then is it Lance coming in at the end of the game in garbage time? So I don't want to be chasing overs on Cooper Rush. I think that the under on CJ Stroud, as Tom was talking about, does make a lot of sense. Not because he doesn't have the weapons and, Collins back can't be a huge factor. It really just kind of comes down to the game strategy and the script of this thing, especially if they do get ahead early and score often and all of that. This is a Cowboys team that, to their credit, allow the second lowest passing plays rate in the entire NFL. Stroud will know that. The coaching staff will know that, and they may be just as content to hand the ball off to Joe Mixon against a very soft run defense that is allowing 150-plus rushing yards per game on average. He is the clear bell cow back. There's no second option you can even take props on. People aren't betting Dameon Pierce or Daria Gunbowale. It's all Mixon. So, yeah, you go over on Mixon's numbers. You consider going under on Stroud. That is the way to approach this thing, at least if we're all seeing this the way it should play out.
All right. Continuing to build off of that, Dave, you got Nico Collins back in the mix. We know a number of people that we discussed, receptions versus yardage and our longest play. What do you think is probably a favorable start to this wide receiver conversation in terms of CeeDee Lamb, which Adam kind of broke down, Nico Collins returning and so on and so forth?
My goodness, that was outstanding. And, Adam showing off not only knowing the backups' names, but pronouncing them correctly. That was great. I didn't even know who those guys were until you just said
Dameon
them.
Pierce.
But
yes.
wide receiver-wise, it has to be Nico night. But Vecchio said it's a Mixon night. I think Nico catches a touchdown, right? Like he catches a touchdown, Case. That's the play.
Okay.
Yes.
There are some interesting things because Cowboys don't let up that many passing touchdowns. They literally sit on an average of 1. 2 teams hit 2+, the Lions and the Falcons. But we get to break this down even further because we have same game parlay coming up on the other side of this break. Let's see if we can get Adam to bite on any of the bets that I tried to throw at Adam if he loses SGP. But who knows? Stick with us here on Pro Football Today here on Sports Grid TV.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek. Because I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
Tony Bennett stepping down and resigning from Virginia right before the season started versus the Villanova team that, folks, I gotta take my glasses off. I can't figure this team out. I can't figure this team out for 2 damn years. And the problem that keeps coming up is the coaching of Kyle Neptune.
Betting above the rim, only on Sports Grid.
Welcome back into Pro Football Today, the pregame show with Casey, Dave, Tom, and Adam, getting you ready for the Monday Night Football matchup. But one of the better ways to get you all ready is to join us in a lovely game we love to play on the pregame party, and that's getting into some same-game parlays. Forever corrected and only the champion when I throw my hat in the ring. But, gentlemen, it's up to you all now. I love how you guys giggle at that. Whenever I just have a confident moment, it's funny to you all. It's Monday, which means it's Adam's Day. Coffer, get us ready. What do you got on the SGP?
All right, we're going a little bit more than a 4-1 available to you. You should shop it around, obviously, for the best odds. But shouts to Lady Carrington. We're looking to make you some loot tonight. This is a 4-legger. Houston Texans on the money line. Okay, like I said, Texans to win this game. I think it's going to be lopsided, but let's play it safe. Let's say they don't cover the 7 necessarily. Let's just go boring, good old-fashioned win. Hopefully, again, it's a blowout. Joe Mixon, we keep talking about how it's a Mixon night. It's a Mixon night. Well, you know what? I'm in agreement. I'm not so bold necessarily for the sake of the SGP as to go over his rushing prop because it just keeps climbing. It's in the vicinity of 90 now. Brought it down ever so slightly to 80-plus rushing yards. And then, I know, this is not generally my wheelhouse, but if it speaks to me, I'm going to go to it. We're putting not 1 but 2 anytime touchdowns in here because I think you are going to get a lot in the way of Houston scoring. I really do. And so
you spice it up for Mama Carrington for real.
If we get touchdown after touchdown out of the Houston Texans, and I would very much consider their team total over as well, because the Cowboys, how about this for a fact? The Cowboys have allowed 28 plus points in all 4 of their home games, allowing an average of 38. So if we're getting, 4+ touchdowns out of the Cowboys, who are they going to come from? The 2 number 1 options, 1A, 1B, put them in whatever order you want. Joe Mixon and Nico Collins in his return. Mixon has scored in 8 of his last 9 games, and Collins, he is obviously a favorite target for Stroud. Dude has, 75-plus receiving yards in each of the games that he has played in. It's why Tom was talking about how the fact he missed 4 games, he's still this team's leading wide receiver. It's insane. And so those are the guys. Plus, I think it's a little narrative street, but I think there's always a desire. He comes back from injury. Let's get him in the end zone. Let's celebrate. So I think they're going to be force-feeding Nico just a little bit as well. And on top of that, the Cowboys, they have allowed 9 touchdowns in as many games to wide receivers specifically. So, again, it's Mixon, it's Collins, the anytime touchdowns, Houston to get the win, and, of course, Joe Mixon to run all over the place, 80-plus rushing. That is better than 4-1.
All right, somebody's trying to escape the goatee look for his next debut on PFT. Tom, what do you got for us on SGP?
Normally I like to have some big argument and how I'm going to be right, but I don't know if there's anything I can say that will add on to what Adam just said, because mine is literally almost identical.
Exactly.
I will say I had mine submitted first.
Look at
Let the record show. Let the record show. I had mine submitted first.
I don't
Texans money line.
Wait, is there some SGP thieving here?
Texans money line, Mixon to score, Collins to score. I will say I have also messed around with another SGP, which is Texans money line, Mixon to score, and Mixon 70+. But that only gets you to plus 120, plus 125, or depending on where you can find it. So, and that's super low, but I do think that is super safe. Adam and I are in 100% agreement tonight. We know exactly what's going to happen. We know who should be getting the ball. Some of these secondary and tertiary options, John Mechie really shouldn't be seeing the ball too much, right? Maybe Dalton Schultz gets involved a little bit, but he's not going to be the primary option. It's going to be Joe Mixon. It's going to be Nico Collins. Then maybe a little bit of Tank Dell sprinkled in here or there. But we know who's the ball is going to tonight, and we are in 100% agreement.
Dave. I don't know what we do in this instance, because typically you come on and try to spread the love, but now
we doubly invest is what we do. Are you kidding me?
I mean, apparently so. I had to get the big hat. This is like a Texas showdown.
That's the dual hat. And it felt like shots were fired when he said Mechie isn't going to be that involved when he's on my betting card that I put up in the group chat earlier today.
Wow.
That's fine. That's fine, guys.
Okay. I don't know what to do. I mean, they both win because they have the exact same thing. I don't know. Yes. This is a draw. We don't have tiebreaker rules.
Do you believe in Mixon, I guess is the question, right?
We're going to have to ask Tommy. Ask Mama Carrington. Somebody help us.
Mom, let us know your thoughts, because she's going to go with the more juice. She likes 4 legs over 3 legs. Don't go anywhere. We don't have a winner. It's a draw here, but regardless, your best bets coming around the way. More head-to-heads as well. So stick with us here on Pro Football Today on Sports Grid TV.
football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Fortunately, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma will do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
Tony Bennett stepping down and resigning from Virginia right before the season started versus the Villanova team that, folks, I got to take my glasses off. I can't figure this team out. I can't figure this team out for 2 damn years. And the problem that keeps coming up is the coaching of Kyle Neptune.
Betting above the rim, only on Sports Grid.
Back at it with Pro Football Today, the pregame show with Casey, Dave, Tom, and Adam. We just went through SGP, and looks like for the first time, typically Dave tries to say that everybody can win, but everybody did just win. So, Dave, unless you changed your mind, unless you found a way to lean one way or the other, if the hat change inspired you differently, what are your final thoughts on the SGP?
I think, listen, I hope they both get there. All right, because 3 of the things are exactly the same. The one that's different, if it doesn't get there, how much whining is the bearded Kaufman going to do tonight on the socials?
The bearded
we're going to hear about it. It's going to be one of those things that we're going to hear about, like 78 yards. It's just it's going to be. It's going to just be. I don't want to see it. I want to see that win, because if that wins, Tom wins, and everybody wins. That's what we need.
Right.
And then we don't get a braided beard. All right, I think for now we can keep it as everybody wins, and it doesn't feel that tragic. So that does perfectly pivot us, into a conversation that has to be had, because it seems like the theme. If it's a Joe Mixon game, that means we got to talk about this running back room and get a better, grasp for what Joe Mixon's workload is going to be. And then also, in order for the Cowboys to have any sort of game, is it not going to be a Dowdle game on that side? So, Tom, get us started on taking this running back room head to head and dive in a little deeper on Mixon, and then let us know, are the Cowboys just going to be handing it off all night long to find the end zone?
Well, when it comes to Mixon, we had the Texans on that Thursday night game, a couple of weeks ago. And, Dave, I remember we were talking about his line, or his attempts prop sitting at 19.5. And say, if it gets to 20, would you get into some unders at that point? It's at 20.5, where the last time I saw it was at 20.5. I think he goes over that. Right, and it's kind of part of my theme of they want to reel it in with C.J. Stroud. It's been a little bit inconsistent, so that's why I also have interest in C.J. Stroud unders on attempts and unders on yards potentially, because we're going to see more Joe Mixon. So I like Joe Mixon over on attempts, over on yards, because that's what he should be doing. I actually also like him under 2.5 receptions. I still think there's a path to him getting over his receiving yards while still going under 2.5 receptions, just because he can break off a long run. Vinny, if you can flash the graphic on there for his receiving yards, I believe it's only sitting at 18.5. 18.5 receiving yards. He can break that off in 1 or 2 catches, 12 yards here, another 10 yards, boom, he's at the over on that. But he's been under 2.5 receptions in 5 of 7 games that he's played. So he just doesn't play a main role in the passing game. When it comes to the Cowboys, like, I think their path to winning would be Rico Dowdle having a big game. Like, that's what would move the ball down the field ultimately in the best way. And I just don't see that happening. I could see him going over on attempts and him being inefficient, but I don't want to be on too many Cowboys props tonight.
Vecchio, you're moving numbers just for the record. I'm just going to jump in real quick. The Joe Mixon rushing attempt number is now 21.5, minus 120 to the over at FanDuel. So we've already moved it a number, two attempts from that original number, 19.5, which was probably light, and juice to the over. So thanks for everybody who's watching the show that either played it or someone in the risk group said, geez, Vecchio and Sherapan both said maybe we shouldn't have 20.5. Now they have 21.5. There you go.
Wow, good catch.
What do you have in front of you for Dowdle attempts?
13.5, I think, with plus money on the over.
No, 13.5 is now juiced minus 128 to the under.
Really?
So he's not going to touch the ball.
I mean, that makes sense to me. I thought you were.
Why?
I thought you were going to say 12.5. That makes a lot of sense to me because I would go under that 13.5. Look at his recent game log and just how they use him in general, other than, when he was hurt and Ezekiel Elliott, actually got a little bit of, pun intended, I suppose, run. But, last week, 12. The week before that, 12. The week before that, 5. He's only had one game the whole season, Dowdle, in which he eclipsed a dozen rushing attempts. This outlier game that he had 20 against the Steelers a month and a half ago almost. So, yeah, couple that with the fact that the Cowboys... Right. Couple that with the fact that the Cowboys expect to be not only down, but down big relatively early. They're going to have to somewhat abandon the run game and lean on the passing game. That being said, doesn't mean Dowdle's not going to be involved. I would go under on his rush attempts, but I would go over on that 16.5 receiving yards. That is not a big number, and he has increasingly been a part of the receiving game. Just his last 3 games, 3 catches. Now, this one was weird. He only had, 3 yards, but the 2 games prior to that, 5 catches, 32 yards, 5 catches, 30 yards. Game before that, 2 catches, 27 yards. So they would like to throw it in the backfield specifically to Dowdle. And so if you're asking me, not that anyone is, but if you wanted to, if you ask me, are you more inclined to go over that 53.5 rushing number or the 16.5 receiving number? It is far and away the pass catching option.
Interesting perspective on that one. His number currently on FanDuel sitting at 16.5, and you painted the perfect picture to say he can easily hit that. But kind of abandoning the run game, knowing that they're going to have struggles. They don't trust Rush in the pocket. He's only going to have so much time to make decisions. Like, does that mean that they are going to abandon the run game more so? Tom, you're shaking your head. Add to it.
I mean, they don't want to. Like, they would like to keep things under control because, like, if you're asking me, if this game turns into a shootout, which is not what the Cowboys want, they lose this game, and Texans win this going away. And that's, kind of what I said at the top, where they could win this game by 14 points and they would cover 13.5. So they do not want to turn this game into a shootout. So they want to run the ball, but that's probably not what's going to happen. So, Dowdle over 16.5 is something that I love, and I can't wait till we get to break so I can jump in on that. On that number.
Oh my.
There you
Casey,
go,
do you have
Adam.
tight end props? Do you have any tight end stuff tonight?
No, let's talk about Nico Collins.
Let's talk about
Nico.
Tight ends. Let's talk about Nico Collins.
No, come on. Nico Collins. Let's flash the graphic. Nico Collins, I like him for 2 specific props, over 5.5 receptions at plus 108, and over his longest reception of 25.5. He has 26 yards or longer in every single game. He has 8 targets or more in 4 of the first 5 games. The 5th game, he was injured. He still caught that long pass. What we saw from the Cowboys last week when A.J. Brown had a 44-yard reception is what we're going to be seeing. They're essentially that same type of receiver, big body receiver on the outside. This is the role that Nico Collins plays. He has a 12.0 ADOT. He has a 22% air yard share. Those are still highest on the Texans despite all this time that he is missing. This is the time for C.J. Stroud to get the ball to Collins, and then after they score all these points, it's going to be Joe Mixon on the ground for over 20 carries.
All right, so we potentially have Collins singing to us, don't call it a comeback. Adam, do you got anything for Ferguson? Number sitting at 33.5. I mean, I don't know what to make of the Cowboys' game plan, so please give Cowboys a little bit of hope here. Maybe it's in their tight end.
Maybe. I mean, as far as the receivers go, just real quick with what Tom was saying, I largely agree on the Nico Collins front. I don't know what to make of Tank Dell in this game. I think that is
He had a lot of drops last week, and I think he lost some trust. key drops and crucial drops.
But I think the bigger thing is just that he is, he went from being the number one option to the clear secondary option. And so how is he going to be used? And that's just in the pass catching game. Maybe he's the third option or the fourth option, all things, considered for CJ Stroud. As far as these tight ends, I'm not really interested in investing in their overs as modest as the totals are. The way that I would approach them is if I'm putting a builder together, let's say for this game, because let's be honest, that I am. I look at trends with these two guys and how involved they typically are. And Schultz has at least 2 catches in all but one game this year. Ferguson has at least 3 catches in every game this year. So do I want to go over on their receptions or their yards? Not really. But again, in the scope of builders, do I think Ferguson's going to get 3 catches and Schultz is going to get 2 catches? That I'm totally comfortable with.
All right, Dave, what are your thoughts? You give love to the tight end.
No, I do, but
these
Adam
are ways to build your bankroll, Dave.
I understand.
What do you want? I like to call them bankroll repairs. What do you want to call them?
That's fine.
I would take out Schultz.
Multi-leg.
We would take out Schultz because those games where he's having multiple catches, those games are when Nico Collins was out. Like that, it's not the same offense. So that's the one thing the only thing I may disagree with Adam on tonight.
I'm not saying I would choose to include Schultz. I'm just saying if I'm using Schultz, that's the way I'm using him. I don't want to use him. I agree with that. I'll talk builders all day.
Well, we are going to build something on the other side of this break because we've got Like It, Love It, and Leave It coming up next here on Pro Football Today, only on Sports Grid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma will do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
Tony Bennett stepping down and resigning from Virginia right before the season started versus the Villanova team that, folks, I gotta take my glasses off. I can't figure this team out. I can't figure this team out for 2 damn years. And the problem that keeps coming up is the coaching of Kyle Neptune.
Betting above the rim, only on Sports Grid.
We are back with Pro Football Today. It's the pregame party with Casey, Dave, Tom, and Adam. But more importantly, it's time for us to get into some Like It, Love It, and Leave It. All right, Tom, give us your longest reception for Like It, Love It, Leave It. What do you got for us today?
Long shot, not longest reception. Let's roll with Joe Mixon for 50-plus
Is
yards
it not
in
one in
each
the
half.
same? Never mind.
At plus 400 for Joe Mixon. Again, theme of the night is an efficient Texans offense that gets things back on track, that gets CJ Stroud moving in the right direction after some slow games with lack of touchdowns and the interceptions and the mistakes. Like, we want him to move the ball downfield, but ultimately the key point of their offense is Joe Mixon. That's what moves their offense downfield. So, like, we spoke about it. Like, I'm over on the attempts. I think the yards are certainly fine on him going 70-plus, add him into an SGP with his touchdown and the Texans' money line. All those things are solid. But ultimately, I do think this is a Joe Mixon game tonight. I do think he will eclipse the century mark on the ground. Hopefully, we get a nice little bit of balance with 50-plus in each half at plus 400. I think it's a fair number to get for a player that should be the key part in the Texans' offense tonight.
All right. It's not my opinion to like it, love it, or leave it, but I'll give you the thumbs up on it. Adam, what do you got for Dave? Let's make it a little bit more complicated. Shake things up under the hat.
Well, you guys are never going to believe this, but I also have Joe Mixon. I'm just kidding, Tom. I'm kidding.
I was going to be like, we're done.
I was like, what are we doing?
No.
We're done here.
No, I'm kidding. No, I'm going for the gold with this one. 11-1 is what we've got. It's a game special on FanDuel for my like it, love it, leave it. And I think it's very reasonable because, again, Cowboys have allowed a boatload of points at home this year. They've been outscored, as a matter of fact, at home by almost 100 points in not even a handful of games so far this season. And they have allowed 28-plus points, as I mentioned, all 4 of their home games. So who's going to score? That's what we're looking at. Joe Mixon, Nico Collins, Tank Dell to combine for 4+ touchdowns. That is 11-1. Again, could Schultz get in on the act? Sure. Could Stroud maybe rush one in? I would consider his over 8.5 rushing yards, by the way. But these are the guys. These should be the main guys. Not Mechie. He's probably going to score the first touchdown.
Why are you guys being rude on Mechie?
I think Mixon gets in a couple of times, and then you're looking for 2 more, maybe one from Collins, one from Dell, 11-1. I've already bet it. I would encourage that you do the same. Not a lot. It's 11-1 for a reason, but a little sprinkle.
I mean, you know what? Okay, first of all, I hate mine. I kind of rushed this. And then second of all, I just feel some type of way today because I feel like we're not giving enough love and respect to what Mechie did versus the Lions. He was like one of the only accountable receivers for C.J. Stroud and the number of mistakes being made. Tank Dell was dropping everything like you were tossing him butter, but forget about it. You can go ahead and leave mine, Dave, because it's Joe Mixon and Dowdle to have 5+ rushing yards in each quarter, and I'm okay with this at plus 450. I'm
That's
okay.
Not bad.
Being
wow.
I mean, just like
what's
every
wrong?
Because like
That's
we
good
didn't
value
think
on
if he
that
was going to
number.
go to Dowdle that much, and then like there was just so much conversation, and there's no love for Mechie and his touchdown props. I don't know. I'm feeling like I should just take the L.
So hold on. Let's do everything in reverse. Case, I just have one follow-up question. What were you going to pick and you changed it to this? What were you going to pick?
What do you mean?
Did you have
No,
a
she didn't
different
change
like
it.
it,
She
love
just-
it, or leave it?
She just thinks that we're
Oh no, I just
crapping
feel like
all over her other plays. That's all.
I feel like the conversation in today's show basically has just been like, hey, probably keep your bets to yourself, which is fine. I'm fine with doing
That's
that.
not true. That's not true.
Nope.
Relax. I feel
Nope.
like you put
That
all
is
this
not what
pressure on
happened
yourself,
here.
Worried about it because it's not what happened.
I'm not putting
All right.
words in anybody's mouth, but I do have Mechie on my bet card. I'm just going to put it out there one last time. But it's fine. Let's focus on the liking, loving, and leaving it. I'm
Reverse
totally cool.
this. I like yours, Case. I think it can win. We got to get this. We have to get Dowdle the yards in the fourth quarter.
Mhm.
That's going to be the
Yeah.
problem. He might not touch the ball in the fourth quarter if they're down big. So that's going to be the detriment there. But I like it. Mixon's getting it. 5 rushing yards each quarter. Come on, that's easy. Adam, again.
Yes,
The
Dave.
total in the game's 41, and you picked one team and 3 guys to score 4+ touchdowns. Just
Yes.
like you do consistently in this segment. It's extra. It's too much. I have to leave it. I hope you win. But the problem here is if they get 3 touchdowns combined, and you would have had what?
It's not
plus 6-1, 5.5-1. That would have been enough.
Not enough. You're right.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to
enough.
worry
Not
about
enough.
saving the beard.
It's
Yeah.
not enough.
But it's not enough. Vecchio, you're back, baby. I mean, you're back.
Hey.
Joe Mixon, 50+ rushing yards each half, 4-1. I'm surprised it's this high. We moved the number on the Mixon rushing attempts. If he gets the rushing attempts, this one should go lockstep with it, plus 4-1. Love it, Tom. Love it.
Absolutely. I love that you love it. I think that's the best part about this.
Add tip to you, sir.
Add the chip to Tom's shoulder. Any love for combining Joe Mixon? I know I heard one of you guys earlier say, like, not much of the guy they're going to go to in the pass catch game, but any love for combining things? I mean, as a safety net, I think it was sitting at 113 for Joe Mixon, rush and receiving. Tom?
Adam is the guy I like
feel
to
like
ask
a safety net.
rushing-
That's a big number.
I think
too big, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Let me pull up his
I would say if you like Joe Mixon to go over that, like I said, I think he can go over his receiving yards while still going under his receptions. But ultimately, like in my brain, I would say if you like Mixon and do that, you might want to have a little bit invested in something on the Cowboys, because someone on the Cowboys doing well, that would force Mixon to play a larger role in the passing game. Like that's how I would think about it.
You guys, can I offer a like it, love it, or leave it for you? I just found this while scrolling around.
Please,
for
we're long overdue.
Most receiving yards of the game. Nico Collins is even money. He's even money. The next guy is CeeDee Lamb at plus 230, and after that, it's all 3-1 and then double digits. Is that not the best bet of the night? That Nico Collins leads the game in receiving yards?
Ooh.
Yes, but there's you could take the over. You could take an alt over on one of his numbers that gets you better than even money.
All right, we'll continue to ponder this one before we get to some final thoughts here on Pro Football Today. It's the pregame show with Casey, Dave, Tom, and Adam. Make sure you're following Sports Grid over at Sports Grid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was
that's what your
looking down
grandma
and did
does,
not
right?
know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
Tony Bennett stepping down and resigning from Virginia right before the season started versus the Villanova team that, folks, I got to take my glasses off. I can't figure this team out. I can't figure this team out for 2 damn years. And the problem that keeps coming up is the coaching of Kyle Neptune.
Betting above the rim, only on Sports Grid.
Back at it with Pro Football Today, the pregame show with Casey, Dave, Tom, and Adam, talking about all the best bets, angles, odds, and lines, getting you ready for the Texans taking on the Cowboys for Monday Night Football. Dave, I got to ask you this. I feel like it's become a thing that we've been doing, so now I'm going to make it more of a permanent thing. If you had to pick 3 guys to get into the end zone tonight, who are you going with?
Oh, boy. Well, Nico, obviously. Mixon, yes. And CeeDee.
Tank Dell for a
CeeDee
total
Lamb.
of 4.
That's it. It's Chuck. Well, I mean, I hope it's Tank Dell for you, but I think it's chalky. I think Mixon gets 1. Hopefully he gets 2 for Adam. And it's Nico Knight, new guy, back. Not new guy, but like he's back healthy.
The return.
So he gets 1. Yeah. And the one guy that's getting it for Dallas, unless it's the X Factor, tight end or somebody, I think it's CeeDee Lamb. You?
All right. Me? I really don't know what to make of the Cowboys after getting stumped to just 6 points last week for 1, for 2.
know.
You know, seeing how Cooper Rush functions, or you know what, for a long shot, take Trey Lance when he comes in to use his legs and rush one into the end zone.
What? That's a
I'm
big
not
call
betting it.
from
I'm
you.
just saying that's how this
What
game
are
can
you
go,
talking
Tom.
Oh my God.
I mean, Adam's got his hand raised, so you can go to him.
Oh, sorry, Adam. Your hand is so kindly
I have a
raised.
quick question. I'm sorry. Just a quick question. I know we all love the Texans in a potential blowout here, but let's just say you're not comfortable with the 7. Is a better bet to go over the team total for Houston, which it's a little outside where you want it to be. I saw it at 24.5, so you're beyond that, key number of 24. But it's also at plus money. I saw it at plus 105. Do you like the Texans to score 25 plus as opposed to saying the Cowboys can't keep it close?
I mean, that might just be personal preference for, and again, you guys know at this point I like to have things super correlated. So if someone out there maybe doesn't have a ton of bets, they don't have a super strong take about tonight's game. Depends on how you want to do things. Like if I have a ton of things working already in the favor of the Texans, I expect them to score like them going over 24.5 or whatever. Like I'm already essentially anticipating that. So maybe I don't want to add on something else that I'm already having bet on.
Dave, what do we think of that total?
I'm looking at it now. So 24.5 is the total with the juice to the under, and the Cowboys total points is 16.5, which I think is an under. I think they get 2 field goals and a touchdown, or 2 touchdowns. I don't think they get 2 touchdowns and a field goal, which is what you need to go over that total. So Cowboys under. Texas is going to fall right there. I can't get 24-10 or 24-13 out of my head. You can play both of those, Lady Carrington, if you really want to take a shot on getting Christmas presents and stuff. Pick the exact score. Those are big payouts.
More bang for your buck, Mom.
Thing I got. Yeah,
that's a big way to bring in the birthday. All right, Adam, final thoughts on this matchup.
Oh, I just hope that Lady Carrington cashes in. That's what I'm looking for tonight. Look, I think Houston wins in a rout. That is my expectation. I think the Texans absolutely throttle the Cowboys tonight. Again, lost season for Dallas. Tom outlined it earlier. It's a very important game for Houston, given Indianapolis and Anthony Richardson looking good for once, nipping at their heels in that AFC South. They need this one, and I think they need it in more than just a squeak by sort of way. They need it in an overbearing, emphatic way.
They need to put on a beating. Tom, final thoughts.
Yeah, it's exactly, as Adam said, like this is, again, they've looked a little bit up and down, lost 3 of their last 4. Like, let's right the ship. Let's get things going. They need to, again, build on today so they can start to pick up wins, as I said, against the Titans and the Jags in the coming weeks. And again, create that separation against the Colts. So it's Mixon and Collins, like 1A, 1B tonight, whatever you want to say. Everyone else falls after that, right? I will say there's a chance that we do see Dameon Pierce get involved if the Texans are out way, way far ahead. And then we could see some live odds for Pierce rushing attempts, or rushing yards, I should say, at the end of the game.
All right, Sports King, bring it home for the pregame party. This portion of it, that is.
Listen, we're doing an unbelievable job on this show, as do the guys behind the scenes, at making this game seem interesting. I don't know how you did it, but you did it. You found a bunch of bets to do it, and I still like the under. And there will be an interception, and it probably will be Cooper Rush. We'll throw an interception. So put that one. That's juicy. That's heavy, but that will be a play. After the game's over, you can take the LA Clippers plus the points in the basketball. Tomorrow, the Cleveland Cavaliers plus the points against the Celtics.
Tomorrow,
but the Lightning play
Lightning and the hockey. Yes. All right, follow Sports Grid over at Sports Grid. Follow these 3 handsome faces and stick with us on the other side of this quick break.
sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you. You pinching your own cheek? As I was
that's
looking
what your
down
grandma
and did
does,
not
right?
know we were getting...
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
Tony Bennett stepping down and resigning from Virginia right before the season started versus the Villanova team that, folks, I got to take my glasses off. I can't figure this team out. I can't figure this team out for 2 damn years. And the problem that keeps coming up is the coaching of Kyle Neptune.
Betting above the rim, only on Sports Grid.
Welcome back into Pro Football Today, the pregame show. Now with Casey Hudson and Donnie right side. Get us right and ready for Monday Night Football. Texans, Cowboys. Some people say this could be ugly. Dave Sherpin said he feels Patriots and Jets vibes for this one. 24-3 was the number that was accumulated in that matchup. What is your overall take on this? You got a Texans team that blew a massive lead versus the Lions the other week, and just a lot of frustration, a lot of flustering, a lot of inexperience looked to come into play in that for the Texans. Cowboys just falling apart by the handles here. So how do we start gauging this one?
Value is in the eye of the beholder. You see those numbers there, plus 7.5 for the Cowboys at home, no less in this game, and you see the total 41.5. And you're right. There's a lot of question marks coming in. Number one, how the Dallas Cowboys going to play fresh off a performance which was embarrassing against the Philadelphia Eagles. Barely can move the football. Cooper Rush, where was the Cooper Rush a couple years ago when he was getting spot starts and winning football games and being a competent quarterback? He looked like he never played the sport, almost like Ben DiNucci years and starts here that we saw from the Dallas Cowboys. But the question marks, too, come up on the Texans. How do you handle that game when you blew a game to one of the best teams in the NFL, the Detroit Lions? How do you bounce back tonight? And if you're looking for a bounce-back spot for the Texans, this is a perfect bounce-back spot for them.
Perfect. It couldn't have been set up and built any better for the Texans to come in and put on a clobbering. But let's start with the Cowboy side of this, because I love that you mentioned the fact that there is or was a Cooper Rush worth watching there for a moment. And I do recall this happening. Dak Prescott got hurt by the Tampa Bay Bucks 2 seasons ago. Cooper Rush comes in and actually kept them on their heels a little bit more than anticipated. What is it going to take for this Cowboys offense to at least get some points on the board tonight?
Rico Dowdle, that's where it squares on it. And also you heard the Dallas Cowboys talk about it this week with Jerry Jones. They finally have a clear lead cut back, and it is going to be Dowdle. No more Zeke Elliott needs his touches at this point. Fumbled on the goal line last week early in that game, which really set the Cowboys back. So Dowdle's going to be getting 10 to 15 carries. The only problem you have with that, Casey, is how many of those carries could be coming in the second half. If we have a 1 or 2 possession game, he's going to get those extended carries. That's the first way I would look. And also, number 2, CeeDee Lamb is one of the best wide receivers in football. I don't care if you're a bad quarterback. That's who you look for time and time again. I would be shocked. I'm betting on CeeDee Lamb tonight. We'll get to it in just a little bit. But if he doesn't get more than 10 targets tonight, what are we doing with the Cowboys offense, Casey?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to have your playmakers make plays, and that's for sure. Coming off of a performance where he was stumped to, 21?
Yeah, like 10 targets and like 20-some-odd yards or whatever it was. Yeah, ridiculous.
Asinine to be one of the top guys in the league here. So then now pivoting over to the Texans, what to expect out of their offense, because you get Nico Collins back. You have C.J. Stroud that for moments versus the Lions, you saw a little bit more confidence, a little bit more composure, and then it all started to fall apart. But a more aggressive defense that he was going against. Cowboys aren't going to exactly present that kind of issue per se. So what do you think the target share is going to be with Collins in the mix? You got Mixon, who is the workhorse of all workhorses. You got Mitchie, who I think showed actual reliability last week versus the Lions. And then you have Tank Dell, who had a number of drops and I think kind of got some discouragement during his play. So how do they start spreading the ball for the Texans?
Good news is that Nico Collins is coming back, and Pro Football Focus before he got injured, Casey, number 1 overall wideout in football. That's great to have back. And also, I love what the Texans did. He could have played last week. Let's make sure he's extra healthy coming into this game against the Dallas Cowboys, and he is now. So I'm expecting a big night. But if we're looking for those extra wide receivers here, we know they need to stop Nico Collins, which is fantastic for Tank Dell and Jonathan Mechie on the opposite side. That means they're going to get one-on-one coverage and not the best cornerbacks or rolled over coverage to their side. So they should be able to eat. The question mark is going to be, with a healthier Micah Parsons, Overshown, can they get enough pressure on C.J. Stroud to disrupt that offense? But getting back to your point, Jonathan Mixon has been absolutely sensational this season overall. I would be surprised. Like, it's expensive tonight, $170, $175, depending where you're shopping, even as high as like minus $200. He's going to score tonight. He's going to get the lion's share.
Okay, so building off of that before we get to your best bets, when you know you have a workhorse such as Mixon, when you know he can get into the end zone, when you're going against a Cowboys team that regardless of how bad they are, they haven't let up that many passing touchdowns. The only 2 teams to get 2+ passing touchdowns were the Falcons with 3, the Lions with 2. Other than that, it's 1 passing touchdown. So could you see on a big value here, Joe Mixon 2+ touchdowns probably coming in at plus money?
Certainly, and also keep in mind the game script that we're looking for. I think it would be pretty shocking if anybody's come on the air today and said, you know what, love the Cowboys tonight. They'll be leading by a touchdown or more in the fourth quarter, which would mean Mixon's not getting those carries.
Right.
We expect this game to be carried by the offensive line and the offense for the Texans going up against Dallas, which means in the fourth quarter, he's an explosive running back. You're at the 25-yard line trying to run it out, he can score. You saw it last night with J.K. Dobbins. Hey, we don't really need the touchdown. Boom, he can go right down the sideline for 25+. So I do think if we're scoring touchdowns tonight, and based on the game flow, we're expecting at least 3 touchdowns from the Texans. Why can't Mixon have 2 of them? By the way, might even get 1 in the air as well.
Yes, very true, very true. Love that as well. So walk us through your best bets of the night now, seeing as how we've got a picture of what these 2 teams can possibly deliver on offense.
The thing we love is that we can get involved in the game flow. Like if the Dallas Cowboys have a pulse early, that's fantastic for this game. But for me, buying low to start here. C.J. Stroud to throw 1 touchdown pass in an alternate parlay. Should be fine tonight. You just pointed out Dallas doesn't give up that many. Nico's back 1. I'm not asking for too much here.
Right.
Tank Dell, secondary wide receiver, 25 yards. That could be done in the first quarter. Little slip screen out of the back here. There you go, 15 yards there, another 10 catch later. We'll grab that. And also, you're taking a look at CeeDee Lamb. It's hard for me to quantify what I'm getting out of the Dallas offense other than target share. And if you tell me again, Casey, I'm going to get 10 to 12 targets in this game to CeeDee Lamb, and he ends up with 38 yards, I'll live with that. I believe he can get that because also, you know me, third and fourth quarter losing, extra targets there to the wide receiver.
Absolutely. And plus, we'll talk about some things to potentially gauge while you go live. But if you guys don't know, now you know. Make sure you hang out with the in-game live crew. That's Donnie, Kevin, and Joe to run you through the best odds, lines, and numbers as we unpack how the game continues to move out through. Now, kind of gauging some other possible potential bets here. Dowdle, we talked about what he needs to be for this Cowboys team on the ground, but more importantly, the number of times that he has had, 26+ receiving yard games. Is this the kind of guy that you would look at to combine, or maybe also in separation take his rushing yards with his receiving yards? Receiving line sitting at 16.5.
I'm actually just focused on his ground game today because I almost think the game script, even if they're down in the second half, they're still going to be running the football. It's not a great offense overall. And also, sometimes I like to take the opportunity to say it's a 7.5-point spread in this game. Where would you like to go with this, or what do you think the outcome is going to be? You tell me how Dallas is staying within 7.5 points if Dowdle has 25 or 30 yards on the ground. He has to get close to his number for them to stick around. So he can get 60 yards on the ground, and they still lose by 14 points. I'd rather bet Dowdle over his rushing prop than taking the Cowboys with 7.5.
Do you think we see Trey Lance in this one?
For me, I hope not, because that means Cooper Rush is in rhythm and he's delivering footballs to CeeDee Lamb. But you're right. We might have a 3-point halftime game like, you know what, we can't do this anymore. We're going to have an anarchy in the locker room, and you might see him again. You saw he was that bad last week, Cooper Rush.
Right, and if they decide, hey, they just want to throw a different look out there, you're talking about a completely different type.
At least he can run. He's got some wheels.
Exactly. Completely different quarterback, completely different style. I almost said tight end, but that's because that's where I was pivoting to next. Jake Ferguson. He's been one of the go-to guys. He's been one of the tight ends that have larger roles amongst these rosters. pressures because of a number of situations. Do we see him get more involved today?
I don't know how about more involved, but he was really close to making my card because I think his number's in the low 30s at this point. Which is awesome. Again, the game script, you should have at least 30 passes out of the Dallas Cowboys, regardless of who's at quarterback, and for your starting tight end to not get 25 or 30 yards. That would be a travesty. But I sort of lean towards CeeDee Lamb, but I can't fault anybody for going for Ferguson. You know my thought process every week. Quarterback's best friend, even when he's bad, is a 5-yard pass over the middle to a wide-open tight end.
I love it, and I'll always love it and live by it.
Yep.
Now, we got to talk about C.J. Stroud. Number was sitting at 235 passing, came down to 229 about an hour ago. What do we foresee with this one? Because if Collins is back in the mix and everybody's seeing these big plays and this big yardage, that means that C.J. Stroud has to get back to 250-plus passing form.
Yes.
Where would you go with these numbers?
It's hard, again, because if you say that the Dallas Cowboys will be a competent football team, and I mean competent, scoring like 17 points, he should blow through that number. Like, the opportunities will be there, a healthy set of wide receivers. We also forget, like, how much of a machine this offense was earlier in the season when you did have all three of those wideouts here. Now at least you have two of them back, and the key contributor is going to be Nico Collins. So if you do get, and this is why it's great that you can bet it in-game, if you see the Dallas Cowboys moving the football, C.J. Stroud's going to smash that number.
I love it. Definitely an extra focal point to hang out with the in-game live crew and gaze this. Final thoughts before you go join the in-game live crew.
By the way, a quick one, too. How about this fun bet here, plus 125 first quarter? You want to get your top wide receivers involved? This is the way to do it. Nico Collins and CeeDee Lamb each 5 yards receiving in the first quarter. Sign me up on that. Plus 125. Let's get after it.
Ooh, I have that exact version, but the running back version. Dowdle and Mixon, 5 rushing yards in each quarter. So many great bets and angles presented to you here on Sports Grid TV. But, I mean, Donnie said it. What else can you ask for? Hang out with the in-game live crew coming up on the other side of this break to run you through the Monday Night Football hopeful madness in a good way. We're just looking for a great primetime game. First primetime start for C.J. Stroud. You and I found that out at the same time. So stick with us here on Sports Grid TV. More importantly, hang out with the in-game live crew. That's Donnie, Kevin, and Joe on the other side of this break. And we'll chat with you over on social media as well. Catch you guys later on Sports Grid.
The sharpest football contest show in.
This is a smash. I'm going to run out and smash my button while you talk about Ramondre Stevenson.
I don't think the Bengals defense is one that you should be fearful of. I think they're middle of the pack. You know, they've lost the Bateses and some of those guys over the years that you used to fear. They got a lot of young kids in there who have some talent. But at the same time here, I do expect Ramondre to be a guy that is going to revert back to what he did a couple years ago.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on Sports Grid.
Ravens starting their season 0-2, and I mean the numbers and what the market had eyeing this team heading into this season is probably almost up in flames at this point.
Their last however many games being down 10 plus points in the fourth quarter, inability to close out, getting picked apart by what is largely considered a below average quarterback with a below average receiving core.
Pro Football Today, only on Sports Grid.
Everyone had him Rookie of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Bears are going to the Super Bowl, Eberflus Coach of the Year. He was terrible.
If he's going to be a success, he's got to play within structure as much as possible. I get it. If the pocket breaks down, throw off the platform. That's fine. But within structure, when the play is there to be made, you need to make it, and he didn't do that.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on Sports Grid.